All righty, everybody. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Hot Topic Tuesday. And you are tuning in to April and Trish, and we are functional practitioners who try to help with healing the body in natural, holistic methods. And if y'all have been following us on social media, you will see that this whole month we have been kind of harping on the topic of blood sugar regulation and blood sugar balance in general and how it helps. And today, the topic that we will cover is your blood sugar is your blood sugar sabotaging your weight loss efforts? And I've seen it time and time again. And Trish and I were talking about it. We will have clients who, ideally are doing all the right things, and eating well and exercising and all of that, and they're doing all the right things, and they still are struggling with being able to lose weight. And, sometimes it ends up coming back and pointing to blood sugar balance, and that seems to be the issue. But with that being said, we will kind of start off with so let's talk about the link between blood sugar and weight loss. So blood sugar regulation is a crucial aspect of weight management. When blood sugar levels aren't stable, it can lead to increased fat storage, especially around the abdomen, the midsection, and make it difficult to lose weight. Many people struggle with losing weight loss despite dieting and exercising because they overlook the impact of blood sugar on their metabolism. So that's it's something that kind of simple, but not simple. It's a simple thing that can be overlooked, and people just don't realize that it can play such a major impact and such a big role. First, let's talk about how blood sugar can affect fat storage. The first thing that we should talk about would be the role of insulin. Insulin is a hormone that regulates blood sugar by helping cells absorb glucose for energy. However, when blood sugar is consistently high due to frequent consumption of, say, carbs and sugars, the body is going to release more insulin. Excess insulin signals the body to store fat, particularly in the abdominal area, and this process can sabotage weight loss efforts as the body is in a constant state of storing fat rather than burning it. And I see it a lot or we'll have clients that, just have this stubborn fat around the midsection, and of course, as we age, it only gets a little more difficult, not impossible, but it starts to get a little more difficult. But we hear it, almost daily. So first, let's talk about, we're going to move into some of the signs that your blood sugar may be sabotaging your weight loss goals. First one's frequent hunger. You feel hungry shortly after eating, particularly for something sugar or carb heavy, meaning I just need something sweet. And I hear that a lot, and I'm actually guilty of it, of like, you just don't feel satisfied until, and you can have a really large meal, but then you just feel like you have to have something sweet afterwards or end that on something sweet. That's one sign. You tend to have cravings for sugar or carbs. That's another sign. Intense craving for sweets or starchy foods, often in the afternoon or evening. That's another sign that your blood sugar may be imbalanced. Energy crashes, feeling sluggish or tired after meals, particularly after consuming higher carb foods. That is another indicator. Say you eat a high carb meal and then it's like, oh, kind of feel like I need to take a nap. That's another easy indicator. The difficulty losing weight, despite, like what we were saying, we have a lot of clients that despite eating well and exercising, you find it hard to shed pounds, especially around the midsection. That could be a sign that your blood sugar may be imbalanced. Mood swings, irritability, anxiety, or mood swings that will often coincide with blood sugar dips. So your blood sugar crashes, energy crashes, and you can get kind of cranky and irritable. Those are indicators as well. Now, let's move into some of the common foods and habits that can disrupt and contribute to blood sugar imbalance. The obvious would be high glycemic foods. So foods that high glycemic foods are foods that quickly raise blood sugar levels. And those are things like white bread, pasta, rice, sugary drinks, processed snacks. These foods can cause blood sugar spikes followed by crashes and then leading to cravings and overeating as a result. Skipping meals, that is another one. Skipping meals, not eating regularly can cause blood sugar to drop, which is actually like hypoglycemia. So your blood sugar crashes, and then it ends up leading to overeating later and making poor food choices that further disrupt blood sugar levels. So it's almost like a vicious cycle. You don't eat regularly, you get that dip, and then it kind of get into the hunger emergency, and then you in turn end up overeating, and then blood sugar spikes, and then it crashes again. So it's just kind of like a domino effect. Sugary beverages, so things like sodas, energy drinks, some of the coffees. Me and Trish were talking about we were talking about iced coffees before we got on. Like some of the sodas, energy drinks, some of the coffees, and even some fruit juices that someone would deem healthy can cause rapid spikes in blood sugar, contributing to weight gain and then making it difficult to lose weight. And then we're going to move into strategies to stabilize blood sugar. And Trisha's going to take over those.
Yes, and thanks for bringing up the coffee. We were talking earlier and I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna put my coffee creamer in my coffee. It's my like one non-negotiable, I guess. But I do have to still limit that. We were talking about limiting our caffeine intake in general, which also in turn limits like kind of the stuff that you're putting into it. All right, so next we have the strategies to stabilize blood sugar for weight loss. And the first one's going to be balanced meals. And we've talked about this all month long, but you definitely want to include protein in your meal. Protein will help slow the absorption of the blood sugar, helping to keep them a little bit more stable as you're digesting that food. So including lean meats, you can go with fish, eggs, and then you've got some vegetarian sources like your tofu, your legumes. All of that stuff has good ample protein in it and will help kind of slow the absorption down. Healthy fats, fats also act, in a similar manner. They're going to help slow the absorption of the glucose in your body. They also help with satiety. They help keep you full, and they do add, really just good flavor to your meals too. They're good, healthy things to snack on. So things like avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil. You can also go with maybe, a fattier cut of meat also. Fiber-rich foods. So fiber is a powerhouse in our world. We talk about fiber house, fiber all the time. So fiber also slows down slows the absorption. That's kind of the key here is we're looking for things that will slow the absorption of carbs. So focus on your non-starchy vegetables, whole grains. You want to limit those a little bit though, and legumes. Another good strategy is portion control. So if you have, especially with high carb meals, high carb foods, portion control, if you are to eat a very, very, very large meal, you're obviously going to have a greater insulin response to that meal, as opposed to eating a little bit of a smaller meal. So, eating too much at once kind of just overwhelms your body's ability to manage that blood sugar. So eat to, satiety. You want to be full. You don't want to like step away and still be really hungry. So we always kind of say one good mindful eating technique is to maybe eat till you're like 80, 85% full. And that usually kind of does the trick. And again, kind of like April mentioned earlier, if you're getting hangry, 30 minutes, an hour after a meal and shaky, that is a sure sign that you've kind of got some blood sugar dysregulation going on. Regular meal timing. So, obviously if you're one for skipping meals, if you're having something in the morning and then not again till dinner, that definitely can lead to some erratic blood sugar, and instability there. So aim for we usually say about 3 to 4 hours in between meals. And that also will, give you a good portion size too. All right, so lifestyle changes to support blood sugar management. Exercise. Exercise is awesome. Particularly strength training, moderate cardio, that will help improve insulin sensitivity and will support your healthy blood sugar levels. And one technique that we'll kind of talk about at the end too is a walk after a meal. We've highlighted that one a ton, and that does a lot of really good for the body. Stress management. So, stress can send our blood sugar, into erratic territory just as much as, food and that type of stuff does. So when we have high stress, we increase cortisol levels. And what cortisol does in our body, it thinks that there's this immediate threat. And it thinks that we probably need to be active, run from this threat, or fight this threat. So it just kind of dumps out glucose into our body so that we're always ready to move and ready to react. Well, oftentimes, and we've talked about this before, a lot of our stress comes like sitting down, like you open up an email, you get a phone call from your kid's school or whatever. So a lot of our stress is coming in forms where we're not, actively going to fight something or run from something. Think about the middle of the night when you wake up and your mind starts racing. Obviously, you're not, going to go run around the block. You're going to try to get back to sleep. So we do have some, glucose that's kind of shooting into the body. We're not really using it though. So stress can definitely be one of the triggers for our blood sugar going a little bit crazy. So techniques like meditation, deep breathing, yoga, that can all help manage stress, maybe just taking some things off your plate and reducing some stressors. With that, sleep quality can be another one. So poor sleep also disrupts hormones, also can have, a negative effect on cortisol and our cortisol curve throughout the day. So that is something that will also kind of, shoot some glucose into our body, leave it a little bit unregulated. But it also, poor sleep usually increases our hunger too. So you may find that if you don't sleep very well the night before, that you are a lot hungrier in the day, and it's really hard to manage those cravings because we're just like looking for an energy hit. And usually that comes in the form of carbs, sugary foods, carbs and fats together, really yummy foods. So aiming for about 7 to 9 hours. I feel like seven's even on the low end anymore, I feel like that 8 to 9 is a little bit better, especially for the population we tend to work with, our perimenopause friends. So, look for that quality sleep too, really work on that bedtime routine, sleep hygiene. Similar go to bed and similar wake up times are also really good. Okay, so kind of practical tips and takeaways to start your day. So, we recommend breakfast. We recommend eating a meal in the morning. It doesn't have to be right when you pop out of bed, but within an hour, really preferably before you're having coffee or caffeine and putting other stuff that's kind of raising cortisol into your body too. And you want this to be a balanced meal. So definitely include some protein. That's a great way to start your day. I think fats in the morning are really helpful. I feel like most people that maybe were having like too low of a fat of a morning meal and added fat in, I've never heard anything but good things from them. They do report like more stable hunger, stable blood sugar, stable energy levels throughout the day. So if you're not adding like a fat source to your breakfast, that could be a really awesome immediate change that you can make that you'll feel good with. So something like, whole eggs are really good. Avocado toast is really popular. And we like to do avocado toast here with like an egg on top. So that's a good one too. This also can help prevent your some blood sugar spikes going on later in the day. Just in general, we've never had people like eat a little bit more in the day and feel bad from it. So just a big FYI with that one. So smart snacking. I was also telling April in our little like pre-chat that I'm really trying to limit and avoid snacking this week because I found my hand going into the pretzel, tortilla, whatever bag you want to call it, a little bit too much. And it was like making me crave and, kind of probably doing some weird things to the blood sugar too. So snacks that combine protein, and this is a great way to get fiber into through snacks. So something like, apple slices and a nut butter can be a great idea. Hummus and carrots. It's a great way to sneak in some extra veggies and extra fruit in there too. Handful of nuts. You could even add berries, fruit. Greek yogurt is is a good one for most people. And hydration. So stay hydrated. Dehydration can affect energy levels, can affect blood sugar levels. Many times we will have clients come to us with like energy dips, and before we ask about food, we usually will ask about hydration too. Like make sure you're drinking water and staying on top of that too. So kind of like real life examples. I had, kind of putting into practice like how we would adjust this for a client. And men and women tend to be a little bit different in like, how they can handle stress in their bodies. But I do have like one, I'll talk about a male client that I have. And he definitely had some indicators on his blood work that were pointing to more metabolic syndrome, maybe some floor glucose control, insulin, stuff like that. So we actually have him doing a little bit heftier of like a fasting time. We've got our fasting and our feeding schedule. And after playing around with a few things, he's determined, and again, remember, he's a guy, he can kind of handle the stress a little bit. And he, does have a little bit more weight to lose too, that we have him doing like the longer fast, a little bit of a longer fast each week. Sometimes up to about 18 to 24 hours, and his body is really handling that well. He's noticed a big drop in some of his, in cravings. That combined with more of a circadian style eating, where on the other days, he is really trying to cut his food off about 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. And then, getting some food in the morning. Those two strategies combined seem to be doing really well for him. And April and I were kind of talking about ourselves, and we noticed that cutting that food off at night being a benefit for us.
Yeah, and I noticed it's funny. I think we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. How years ago, we talked about I personally needed carbs before bed to be able to sleep. It helped me sleep, and now I'm realizing this stage in life. I'm realizing that it's actually counterproductive or counterintuitive. So I cut out carbs like later in the day. I'll have them earlier in the day, but I cut them out later, especially close to bedtime. And I've noticed a substantial improvement just in overall sleep. And also like I noticed that I'm not like if I wake up in the middle of the night now, I'm waking up because I gotta go to the bathroom, not just waking up. And I think I was experiencing the blood sugar crash, but also my night sweats are
Mm.
the hot flashes and the night sweats have actually decreased substantially from taking that out. So it's really it's made a positive impact. And you're talking about clients. I've got a female client who we were kind of playing around or changed a couple of things, implemented a little bit of fasting, and she's lost a good amount of weight, but she's kind of hit a plateau, and we were kind of figuring out the next steps. And no matter what we changed, some of the pairings and things that we changed, she wasn't really seeing a response. So in turn, I had her get a glucose monitor just to check, and sure enough, the fasting sugars were higher. For those of y'all that are watching, like if you're unsure, you've got these signs and symptoms that we talked about. Sometimes signs and symptoms can overlap with other things. So if you're unsure as to if it's a problem, an easy way to test would be go to the drugstore, go on Amazon, get a glucose monitor, check your fasting glucose, for a couple of weeks, see where it's at, and if it's in upper 90s or especially over 100, fasting, that's a clear indicator. And hers were consistently over 100. And I was like, ding, 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 there's the problem, So rather than, there are a couple methods that we can take, but like in the series that we followed this month, like some of the, some of the strategies that Trish was saying, but also, like the balanced meals, but not eating naked carbs, having that 5 to 10 minutes walk after each meal, the big meal, cutting your food off at a certain time, just a lot of different things that you can do. One of the things that I've had her do, we did some of the strategies to see if it would make a difference. The readings kind of still stay the same. And the scale didn't really move. And this last week, I actually had her lean more towards fibrous veggies for carb sources and lean more on protein and fats. And the scale has moved like 4 pounds this week. But I do want to add that we did not cut calories. Like I did not want to cut calories. That was the big thing that I did not want to do. The scale moved, the blood sugar readings did not move a whole lot. So I think we're going to this week we are actually going to add in berberine. So adding in berberine with your meals can make can make a positive impact. But and I think Trisha, I think you're the same, but I'm all about minimum dose, maximum effect. So if we could change the meal, strategize with your meals and the types of foods and all of that, and it make an impact, there's no need to add in a supplement or do to
Yeah.
take any drastic measures. But the fasting is definitely that is one that's beneficial, and I've done that with clients before in the past where we would add in one longer fasting day, do a little bit of intermittent fasting, but not, not like crazy, because I will say with women, we have to kind of tiptoe around the fasting thing, and we can't really push the longer fasting windows on a regular basis because I do think that it can be counterintuitive for overall stress balance and hormones. Our hormone profile is a lot more delicate than males are. So anyway, but yeah, no, I noticed a big difference, with it. And it was sad because, I am, I am one of the strategies that we featured this month was eat your food in order, you know, protein, veggies first, fats, eat carbs last. And I've always done that because I always save the best for last because I like carbs the most, you know. Another one last thing that we can do, and it's something that I'll try to personally implement is if you're not tracking and you're just doing like a eat by your plate, eat by your plate method, have half of your plate with vegetables and fibrous, like a fibrous source, and then a quarter of your plate as a protein source, and then a quarter of your plate as the starch of your carbs. So just kind of look at the portion control and how does that plate, like almost like a pie chart, like having it completely half for, the veggies. And another thing would be eat your, that's part of the reason why like you go to a restaurant and you eat like salads first. So eat like your salad first or your veggies first, and then move on to the other stuff. So but it also will help you get fuller quicker, and you'll end up eating less calories in return. So, but anyway, hopefully this was helpful, and we are moving into September, so we will make it a surprise on our next month's feature, and we look forward to chatting with y'all next week.
Hi.
Bye.